Number 2 king is Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan, also known as Genghis Khan, was the founder and first Khan of the Mongol Empire. After spending most of his life uniting the Mongol tribes, he launched a series of military campaigns, conquering large parts of China and Central Asia. That he was a Mongolian warrior ruler, one of the most famous conquerors of history. Genghis Khan was a warrior and ruler of genius who, starting from obscure and insignificant beginnings, brought all the nomadic tribes of Mongolia under the rule of himself and his family in a rigidly disciplined military state. He then turned his attention toward the settled peoples beyond the borders of his nomadic realm and began the series of campaigns of plunder and conquest that eventually carried the Mongol armies as far as the Adriatic Sea in one direction and the Pacific coast of China in the other, leading to the establishment of the Great Mongol Empire. Born between 1155 and 1167 and given the name Temujin, he was the eldest child of Yasujii, a Mongol chieftain of the Borjigin clan, and his wife Hoilan. When Temujin was 8, his father died and his family was abandoned by its tribe. Reduced to near poverty, Temujin killed his older half-brother to secure his familial position. His charismatic personality helped to attract his first followers and to form alliances with two prominent steppe leaders named Jamukha and Togrul. They worked together to retrieve Temujin's newlywed wife Borte, who had been kidnapped by raiders. As his reputation grew, his relationship with Jamukha deteriorated into open warfare. Temujin formally adopted the title Genghis Khan, the meaning of which is uncertain, at an assembly in 1206. Carrying out reforms designed to ensure long-term stability, he transformed the Mongols' tribal structure into an integrated meritocracy dedicated to the service of the ruling family. After thwarting a coup attempt from a powerful shaman, Genghis began to consolidate his power. Temujin returned to Dey Sechin to marry Borte when he reached the age of majority at 15. Delighted to see the son-in-law he feared had died, Dey Sechin consented to the marriage and accompanied the newlyweds back to Temujin's camp. His wife Khotan presented Hoilan with an expensive sable cloak. Seeking a patron, Temujin chose to regift the cloak to Togrul, Khan of the Karait tribe, who had fought alongside Yasujii and sworn the Anda pact with him. The sources do not agree on the events of Temujin's return to the steppe. In early summer 1196, he participated in a joint campaign with the Jin against the Tatars, who had begun to act contrary to Jin interests. As a reward, the Jin awarded him the honorific Chayuti Kuri, the meaning of which probably approximated Commander of Hundreds in Jurchen. At around the same time, he assisted Togrul with reclaiming the lordship of the Karait, which had been usurped by one of Togrul's relatives with the support of the powerful Naiman tribe. Temujin held a large assembly called a Kurultai at the source of the Onan River in 1206. Here he formally adopted the title Genghis Khan, the etymology and meaning of which have been much debated. From 1204 to 1209, Genghis Khan was predominantly focused on consolidating and maintaining his new nation. That he faced a challenge from the shaman Kokchu, whose father Munglig had been allowed to marry Hoilan after he defected to Temujin. Kokchu, who had proclaimed Temujin as Genghis Khan and taken the Tengris title Teb Tengri on account of his sorcery, was very influential among the Mongol commoners and sought to divide the imperial family. The great conquests of the Mongols, which would transform them into a world power, were still to come. China was the main goal. Genghis Khan first secured his western flank by a tough campaign against the Tangut Kingdom of Xixia, a northwestern border state of China, and then fell upon the Jin Empire of northern China in 1211. In 1214 he allowed himself to be bought off, temporarily with a huge amount of booty, but in 1215 operations were resumed and Beijing was taken. Subsequently, the more systematic subjugation of northern China was in the hands of his general Mukhali. Genghis Khan himself was compelled to turn aside from China and carry out the conquest of Khwarezm. This war was provoked by the governor of the city of Otrar, who massacred a caravan of Muslim merchants who were under Genghis Khan's protection. The Khwarezm Shah refused satisfaction. War with Khwarezm would doubtless have come sooner or later, but now it could not be deferred. It was in this war that the Mongols earned their reputation for savagery and terror. City after city was stormed, the inhabitants massacred or forced to serve as advance troops for the Mongols against their own people. Fields and gardens were laid waste and irrigation works destroyed as Genghis Khan pursued his implacable vengeance against the royal house of Khwarezm. He finally withdrew in 1223 and did not lead his armies into war again until the final campaign against Xixia in 1226–27. He died on August 18, 1227. Organization, discipline, mobility, and ruthlessness of purpose were the fundamental factors in his military successes. Massacres of defeated populations with the resultant terror were weapons he regularly used. His practice of summoning cities to surrender and of organizing the methodical slaughter of those who did not submit has been described as psychological warfare. But, although it was undoubtedly policy to sap resistance by fostering terror, massacre was used for its own sake. Mongol practice, especially in the war against Khwarezm, was to send agents to demoralize and divide the garrison and populace of an enemy city, mixing threats with promises. The Mongols' reputation for frightfulness often paralyzed their captives, who allowed themselves to be killed when resistance or flight was not impossible. Indeed, the Mongols were unaccountable. Resistance brought certain destruction, but at Balkh, now in Afghanistan, the population was slaughtered in spite of a prompt surrender for tactical reasons. Borte, whom Temujin married around 1178, remained his senior wife. She gave birth to 4 sons and 5 daughters, all of whom became influential figures in the empire. Genghis granted Borte's sons land and property through the Mongol uppunnage system, while he secured marriage alliances by marrying her daughters into important families. After the birth of Borte's last child, Temujin began acquiring a number of junior wives through conquest. All of these wives had previously been princesses or queens, and Temujin married them to demonstrate his political lordship. They included the Karat princess Ibaka. These included the Tatar sisters Yasujin and Yesue, Kalan a Merkit, Gerbisu the queen of the Naiman, Tayang Khan, and 2 Chinese princesses Shaka and Chigwa, of the Western Xia and Jin dynasties respectively. The children of these junior wives were always subordinate to Borte, the daughters were married off to cement smaller alliances, and the sons, such as Kalan's child Khaljan, were never candidates for succession. The achievements of Genghis Khan were grandiose. He united all the nomadic tribes, and with numerically inferior armies he defeated great empires, such as Khwarezm and the even more powerful Jin state. Yet he did not exhaust his people. He chose his successor, his son Ogodei, with great care, ensured that his other sons would obey Ogodei, and passed on to him an army and a state in full vigor. At the time of his death, Genghis Khan had conquered the land mass extending from Beijing to the Caspian Sea, and his generals had raided Persia and Russia. His successors would extend their power over the whole of China, Persia, and most of Russia. They did what he did not achieve and, perhaps never really intended, that is, to weld their conquests into a tightly organized empire. The destruction brought about by Genghis Khan survives in popular memory, but far more significant. These conquests were but the first stage of the Mongol Empire, the greatest continental empire of medieval and modern times. I hope you liked the video, so please like, share and subscribe my channel and press the bell icon to get new videos.